All right, today we're going to talk about the small signal model of the bipolar junction transistor, or BJT. We just talked about the quiescent point or the bias point of the device, and once we know the quiescent point, we can find a small signal model that's going to help us to calculate things such as the amplifier gain or the input and output impedances. Fundamentally, a transistor converts voltage to current. Voltage changes at the base to emitter junction are going to be transformed into current changes through the collector. Now we can determine that the transistor is in the forward active region, the region that we want to use it as a current source, by noting the bias points or the bias conditions. So for instance, we know that if VBE is forward biased, typically we think this is going to be somewhere around 0.7 volts or greater. And VCE is greater than 200 millivolts, we think that the device is in the forward active region. Now, note that these voltage values might differ for different devices, but they're good rules of thumb for the standard laboratory transistors that we tend to use. Well, if we have a transistor in the forward active region, we can plot the collector current as a function of VBE, the base to emitter voltage. We know that no current will flow until we get to about 0.7 volts, and then the current will start to flow exponentially. So we'll see that the collector current is equal to IS times e to the VBE over VT. And we can then find the slope at some operating point where we might have some linear swing around that point. So we make a linear approximation. The slope of IC versus VBE for this curve at any given point, DIC by dVBE, is defined as our GM, and this is equal to 1 over VT times IS times e to the VBE over VT, which is equal to IC over VT. So this transconductance, or this GM, is a transconductance. It has units of current over voltage, so they're conductance units, which are found in Siemens. And as I just said, GM is the transconductance. The transconductance is a ratio that measures how much IC, this is signal current, changes due to changes in the input voltage, VBE, the input signal voltage. Now we can see that for a BJT, the transconductance only depends upon the collector current and the temperature, because the thermal voltage depends on temperature. All right, we can note that the thermal voltage for room temperature I usually use is 25 millivolts, and so for every milliamp of current, we get about 40 millisiemens of transconductance. All right, when we trace the characteristic curves for a BJT, an ideal BJT would give us something like the curves shown on the left. Here we see that the slope of the characteristic curve is equal to 0 once the transistor reaches the forward active region. But in reality, all transistors have some finite slope, and this is going to be modeled in a moment as the output resistance. So let's see what that looks like. All right, so you can see that I've redrawn the curves now, and we have some finite slope. So here we can see that the slope has some proportionality with the output resistance of the device. Now, if we were to extrapolate the curves, the slope of the curves, back to the x-axis, we would find that they would all intersect at a common point. So if we project these back to the axis, they all intersect at a common point, and this common point we call the early voltage. And this is going to tell us something about the output resistance, because we can ultimately use this to relate to the slope of the curves. So we made a modification to our collector current that said that IC is equal to IS times e to the VBE over VT times 1 plus VCE over VA. And now if we take DIC by dVCE, we define this as GO. This is equal to 1 over RO, and we can show after the derivative that this is approximately equal to IC over VA. So the output resistance is approximately equal to VA over IC. Now I mentioned just a moment ago this term GO. This is the small signal output conductance. Now remember that we modeled the transistor as a current source, and an ideal current source would have infinite output resistance, which would mean zero conductance in parallel with the current source. And so this GO is modeling non-ideality in the current source. All right, one last non-ideality to model, and that is due to the base current. So we know that in large signal terms, IC is equal to beta times IB, and this is true also in small signal terms. We can also say in small signal that IC is equal to GM times VBE, and hence we can find IB is equal to GM times VBE over beta. Now if we find dVBE by dIB, we can find that this is equal to beta F over GM, and this is defined as a term that we use called R pi, and this is the base to emitter resistance. So R pi is the small signal base to emitter resistance, and it's representing that electron hole recombination that occurs in the base. All right, so with this, we now have everything that we need to put together our small signal model. So we're going to make something called a hybrid pi model. All right, so the components of the hybrid pi model, the most important one is our transconductance. This is really the action of the transistor, and it's represented by a dependent current source, GM times VBE. We have the output conductance, GO, that we found before, and we also found the base to emitter resistance, R pi. The voltage found across R pi, VBE, is what controls the dependent current source. And of course, we have our small signal base current, little IB, flowing into the device, and our small signal collector current flowing through the collector. Now, I should mention that sometimes GM-VBE is modeled as beta times IB. If it's easier to solve for the input current, that might be an easier representation to use. And we also have a couple of capacitances that go along with this that we found. These were the depletion capacitances that we looked at the other day. These are C mu, which is the capacitance between the base and the collector. And then we have a capacitance between the base and the emitter that we call C pi. All right, now with this, we have the full device, and we can tell what the mid-band intrinsic gain is. And if we were to do the calculation, we'd find the intrinsic gain, A sub 0, would be equal to GM times RO, or GM over GO. And notice that I'm making this have a negative sign. That's because the amplifier is all right, and one last thing we can do is estimate what the intrinsic gain is. And we're going to talk about the magnitude of the intrinsic gain. Little a sub 0 is equal to GM times R0, or we could also write this as GM divided by G0. All right, with that, we have everything that we need to know about the bipolar junction transistor, its modes of operation, and its small signal model. In the next set of videos, I'm going to look at the MOS transistor and do some similar analysis, and this will be leading up to using BJTs and MOS devices as amplifiers.